It looks like we're live.
Julie. We have a motion to approve the minutes from March of 2020.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Yes, we all aye. A motion needed to approve the checklist and financial statements for February. Any questions or concerns before we make a motion?
What are you looking for? Motion on what?
February financial statements and checklist.
I can make that motion. I've
I'll
gone
second
over it
it.
already.
Aye. And a motion to approve the checklist and financial statement for March.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On to budget.
Do you want to talk about the budget first, or it's not due until the end of?
Are you wanting to save it for?
Yeah, let's because we've got so many decisions to make. If we could save that to the end, but we will try to get through this quickly because I know it's you guys will try to respect your time. Just real quickly with public comments or the KDLA monthly report. The Uniform Financial Information Report, or UFIR, is due by May 1st. Kelly has completed that form for us, and it's been emailed to DLG, so we're good there. Our budget's due needs to be approved by June 30th and uploaded to the DLG website July 15th. And we're going to talk about our draft tonight. So. Also, just a reminder, if board vacancies need to be filled, it's time to start talking about that. So Hannah, real quickly, your second term expires August 2025. Keith expires August 2022. And Michelle expires August of 2022. So we need to probably start talking about that. You can contact me, email or phone call, and let me know where you stand with your serving on the board this next year. Also, board meetings. Do you guys want to try to start having board meetings in person?
I'm game for whatever everyone else is comfortable with.
Same.
I'm good either way as well. We've got our little owl and can televise, so we can have it still available for the public as well and not pack people in there. Not like people show up anyway to our meetings. So you want to just go ahead and schedule an in-person meeting then for May?
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right. Let's see. Grant, really quickly, we got a grant from the Kentucky Science Museum. We'll be receiving 5 different themes, STEAM kits, and we'll receive 300 kits that can be just handed out to Trimble County families and also other families probably in surrounding library counties. We'll also receive 8 Explore kits that will become part of our collection and will start to circulate. So those should be delivered. Hopefully they're supposed to arrive tomorrow, but I think the shipment has been delayed. So we'll get those probably next week. So that was kind of good news. So current status of the library. So this week we started our new library hours, which are listed in the minutes there. And we did start Wednesday morning, or to be open Wednesday mornings. And I told staff to please listen to patrons of theirs come in and ask them, hey, what about Wednesday afternoons? And we're getting some feedback about when would be a good time to be open or closed on that day. And we'll, when we go to make another time change, hopefully in June or July, and extend, go to full hours, then we'll make a decision on what, if we need to close. I could need to close in the morning or in the afternoon. I couldn't find any door or from our sensor or our door counter. Couldn't find any hour by hour information beyond 2 weeks. And I don't think that the last 2 weeks is probably a good indicator of who's coming in. It was kind of the same amount of the same number of people coming in through the door in the mornings and the afternoons. So we also, we're not going to have any programs in May, so staff can finalize plans for summer learning. And we also did a staff training in April. The staff read over the circulation and lending policy that was amended last month. So are there any questions about the status of staff and library in general?
Is there an end goal to open again on Saturdays, or are staff not?
Yeah, I'm hoping in June that we'll be able to, by then everybody should have received vaccinations who wanted to be vaccinated, and hopefully we'll be able to return to normal by then. So, all right, building updates. So staff are already requesting time off for Christmas vacation, and Christmas falls on a Friday this year, and Christmas Eve falls on a Friday, and Christmas falls on a Saturday. Same with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So what that means is that we still have to, for our full-time staff members, we still have to pay them for that holiday, even though they're not usually scheduled to work on a Saturday. So staff members have to take a day off during the week. With us being such a small staff, it makes it difficult to staff the library. So I'm requesting that the library be closed Thursday, December 23rd for New Year's Eve, and Thursday, December 30th Christmas Eve is the 23rd, and New Year's Eve is the 30th.
I'll make a motion to close the 23rd and the 30th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So I've been messing with the gutters for about a year now, trying to get the front gutters to stop leaking. We've had them caulked once, and there's still a huge problem with it. Got a quote from Advantage Construction to repitch the gutters on the front overhang and reinstall 6 ice guards that fell off during this winter. So if you can see I don't know if you can see that. Well, let me share a screen. I gotta share it with you real quick. Julianne, do you wanna give me the ability to share my screen? Let me see here.
I think you should be okay.
Okay. And I'm not sure if it's, let me see. Okay, here we go. So I don't know if you can see the pictures here. We've got about 1.5 inches of standing water in our front gutters, and so that is just dripping at some low points in the gutters. And what happens is when it gets cold, it freezes, or it's dripping on patrons. So the gutters were specially made for a library, and they're hung up so that you have to cut these brackets off, and those brackets will have to be remade. And so that's why the quote is so expensive. So I can reach out to another company, perhaps Sandusky's Construction, but this is about the third company I've asked for help with on gutters. I'm about at the end of my rope with this issue. So
Does everybody else have that page on their minutes?
I don't have
No.
it. I don't
I
have
don't.
the quote part.
We don't have any of that.
no, this was just, I just got the quote Monday, so it didn't go out with your packets. The quote from
Okay.
Advantage is $18.25. And that's to repitch the gutters, to have the brackets custom made and reinstalled and sealed. And to install the six ice guards that fell off the roof.
And they are the only ones that you got a bid from?
They are. I can reach out to Sandusky's. They're pretty busy right now, but I can try to get a quote from them. It's not really urgent. I did use them for a pavilion quote, and the quotes with Sandusky's and this company were like really close. So
Where's that Advantage located at?
they're out of Louisville. And Nathan, I can't remember his last name, he used to work for Sandusky's.
Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah. So we worked with Nathan before. And so this company also fixed the chimney. They sealed the chimney, fixed that leak just a couple weeks ago.
Were you
Yeah.
pleased with what they did on the chimney and the leak and everything?
So far, yeah, we haven't seen any issues with it.
Okay.
So let me know what you want to do. You want me to get another quote?
I'm good with this. If you're okay with it, I can make a motion that we go with Advantage Construction to repitch the gutters on the front overhang and reinstall 6 guards.
I'll make a second. All in favor?
Aye.
They gonna seal the gutters too where they're dripping now?
Yes, and I had those caulks last spring, and it helped a little bit, but it's still dripping. And so hopefully this will, because they're kind of bowing at some of the seams right now, and that's why we're getting that accumulation of water, and sealing it is not going to fix the issue unless the bow they're hung right. So all right, let's see. So let me get out of here really quickly. See if I can open this screen up. Nope, can't. Let me paste that. So we need to talk a little bit about excavation quotes. And I'm gonna try to get this picture to go a little bit bigger. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that or not. And I just lost my picture. No. Sorry, technology is not really working. Can you see that at all? The little picture?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. I'll try to get that. Okay, so a little bit has changed since the last month. So one thing that I've been talking to the excavators about. So this first washout area right here, so there's a rock, you can see this little rock ditch right there. They're gonna redirect that down the hill, and it's just gonna be a ditch. It's gonna be open and with rock. And the excavators recommended that because we have to remove this parking or these barriers right here, he recommended just going ahead and tearing out all of the barriers right here and backfilling that with gravel. Because if not, we're gonna have to reseed this and then have to mow this little patch right here, and then we'll have this rock ditch washout area right here to deal with. So, and I kind of get that. I think it would be easier to take care of if we just backfilled with this with gravel, and then when the parking lot, when we have to repave that in 2 or 3 years, go ahead and just have them pave that over and make additional parking. So, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So we also found out there's no LG&E couplers or anything in this area. So we'll be able to push the pavilion back a little bit. This blue line right here, this will be a catch basin that will be underground. So there's gonna be pipe laid there. We're hoping to at least get a 30 by 50 foot playground area leveled. Hopefully more than that, because the playground equipment is pretty decent size even for the smaller playground sets. Michelle, did you have a question?
I don't know. Sorry, I was just itching.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So, and then there's this city fence. This line here on the right side of the property is basically, that's where the property starts to slope. You can see that there's the property, there's erosion right here. There's already a drainage ditch area. It's already existing, so we won't have to do anything with that. So we also have problems with our shed. It is sinking, and it's sinking on the left, the right, left side. And so I asked them while they had all their equipment there if they could level that out. So that's part of the quote as well. So I got 2 quotes from local excavators. The first is from Ralston Excavating. And for all of that work, he quoted us, gosh, I'm going blind, $8,430 for that. That doesn't include rock for the pavilion, which depending on what pavilion quote we accept, we might have to add that back in to any excavation costs. That should only be about $600 to $800, he said. So I got the quote from Adams Bobcat for the same amount of work, but that he did include the gravel for the pavilion, and that came in at $16,900, which is, I'm not really sure what the difference is, and that seems like not even close at all. So we would need a motion to accept either of those quotes. Both companies are insured or bonded. So.
But his does not, Ralston's does not include the gravel and the other one does.
It does. And I talked to Tom Ralston today, just said, hey, would it be possible if we need to provide extra gravel for a pavilion? Could you do that? And he said, yes. He said it'd roughly be about $600 to $800. So we could approve it for a little bit that over, or we can come back and approve the motion when we get the other, just let them do the work and pay for it then. So.
I'll make a motion that we go with Ralston Excavating.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let me get those motions done.
Do you want to make it, do you want us to say like up to 10,000 for Ralston, or do you want to come back with the gravel quote if he needs it?
Yeah, let's go up to 10,000. I think that would totally cover it, and it is still less than the other quote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody's in favor of that approving it up to 10,000? Okay. Keith, are you okay with that?
I am.
Okay. All right, so pavilion, I got tried to get several quotes for us for that. I reached out to Gosman, which is in Madison, Indiana. They only do metal buildings, and the posts would be wood. We got a quote for a 24 by 24 with an 8-foot ceiling. It does have soffit, and it's all metal. The roof is metal. They will pour the concrete, but they will not do the leveling or the gravel work on that, which we can quote that in with the excavators. It does not have rain gutters on it. The quote came back at $16,595, and it was basically this pavilion right here. The only difference with this picture is it would have about a 12-inch overhang on the roof, but this is basically what it would look like. The wooden post would be exposed. Would probably be treated or stained. Let's do Sandusky's is next. They were the second lowest quote. The difference in that is it's a shingled roof. It's a vinyl soffit in the ceiling. Everything else is aluminum on the fascia and the headers. And on the gable ends, it would be vinyl shake siding. And there would be gutters installed to direct water away from the pavilion. This quote also includes the gravel and the concrete work. So this would probably be more, and I don't have a picture, but this would probably be more in line with the building style of the library. So, and ARC Roof and Construction, they're the same ones that have been doing our roof work and chimney work. They came in at same exact specifications as Sandusky quoted. And they came in at $37,450. Any thoughts on what you guys want to do?
I think I'd prefer Gossman.
I did talk to them and asked, they just don't do gutters, or is this building, can it not accommodate gutters? And they're like, no, you can install gutters on it. It just, they don't work with it. And I think that's going to be around $800 to do gutters and downspouts if you wanted to deal with that.
And you said the other company that's doing the leveling and everything, you would talk to them about the gravel and concrete work?
Yep, I can coordinate with Tom Ralston to have him lay the type of gravel that is needed to do the pavilion. So I'm not too worried about that. I've already got that covered if you guys wanted to go with Gosman.
I think Gosman sounds like a good deal, and we've got people in line you have a rough estimate of how much it would cost to finish the project to the level of the other two quotes, and it still seems like it's under what both of those quotes would be.
Yeah, and Sandusky's Constructions, they were like, yeah, there's no way that we can even meet that price that Gosman's going to be able to provide for you. So,
okay. And that's what Gosman does full time, right? That's all they do, or I believe.
That's what they do, yes.
So they're very good at what they do, or you're confident they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the estimate for Gosman.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. You might, did you say Gossman's building was going to have a 1-foot overhang?
Yes.
Do you have a picture of what it's going to look like? Was that the picture you had up?
It's rough. It's going to roughly look like this, but there will be an overhang, a 12-inch overhang on the probably not on the gable ends, but on these sides.
So the rafters are going to extend approximately a foot past the sidewall. Is that what you're saying? And then there's going to be a soffit under that, or they're not just going to extend the metal 12 inches past this header, are they?
No, it sounds like they'll extend the roof.
Okay.
Yeah, the soffit, the ceiling under here will still be the 24 by 24, but they'll extend the roof out. So Okay, any more questions about pavilions? Okay. Let's see. I think that's it. Now, we're gonna wait. I want to wait on getting quotes for the playground until we see exactly how much level ground that we're able to produce. And then, I've got quotes for all the playgrounds. We'll probably have to re-quote it because it'll be past the 30 days, but, I really think it would be in our best interest to wait on that until we know how much ground we're gonna have. And, I said, I don't want to approve a quote on a playground that's too big for that area and then we have to backtrack. So, the Park Branch update, Crystal Hines reviewed the memorandum of understanding for the Park Branch, and she said that it looked great for both parties. She is also the county attorney. So because of that, she wanted a letter signed indicating that the Board of Trustees would waive any conflict of interest there. I think hopefully everybody got that letter in the packet. I am very comfortable with having her be the lawyer for both parties. The memorandum of understanding is almost identical to the one that we did in Milton. So I think we probably should just have a motion on that if you guys are okay with her being the attorney for both parties. She did say that she would waive any legal fees for this project. So
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay. And then we just need to approve the memorandum of understanding itself. And I did not get that in your packet, so hopefully everybody got it through email today. Michelle did find one error on the square footage, so we did correct that.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOA.
I'll second.
Okay, do you want to have second?
You can use Keith.
Jill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I took Keith.
All right, so Hannah, we're gonna need your signature on that, and Todd, Pollux, and Crystal's. I think what we can just do is, I will have one of our notaries, like perhaps you can just sign it when you do bills or something. And then I'll have one of our notaries take it to Todd and Crystal and have them sign as well and then notarize the document. And then I'll send everybody a copy of that. So, I forgot to tell you too, we're gonna have to get a permit to do this pavilion from the county. So I will take care of the paperwork on that. I don't think, it does not look like Hannah or any board member needs to sign it. I didn't think about doing a motion for that, but I figured since we approved the quote, you guys would approve a permit. So.
Do we need to have copies of these memorandums, like the ones you sent us, and just bring them with us? Or are these just rough copies for us to look at, or are there ones at the library that we need to sign when we come in?
That's just a draft. I'll have a copy for you,
Okay.
to sign, and then we'll take it around to the other people that need signatures, need to sign it as well. So.
Gotcha.
All right. So we do also need to start talking about the budget and taxes. And we had a board member kind of ask about possibly reducing tax rates this next year. And so I gathered some information, some history and stuff of where we're at with tax rates, and hopefully everybody had a chance to look at that. And that will need to be considered when we're doing our budget because it will decrease our income. Is there any initial thoughts on that?
I am the board member who brought this up, lowering the tax rate. I don't mind saying that.
I would be all in favor of it being lower.
I kind of wanted to make my argument or why I thought this. I feel like over the last year, we have charged for a service that we have not fully provided, and I feel wrong doing that. that is not at all a reflection of the director or the staff. They have done an outstanding, amazing job with what they were given and dealt with. But for something that was out of all our hands, we did not provide full services at all for over a year now. I mean, even we're talking about even in June, which is the end of our fiscal year, still, just in June, possibly, hopefully starting to have our Saturday hours again. I mean, we have not provided full hour, the library's doors have been forced to be shut. And I just feel wrong taxing people, especially having a budget surplus every single year that I've been on this board, which is over, I don't know if I'm done in 2024, it's been over 8 years at least, I think, because I finished a term. We are on track. If I'm looking at our budget correctly, Dina, do you, according to our financial report that we have for March, do we still have April, May, and June expenditures, or does the budget end in May?
Budget ends the end of June, and it looks like we have about 90% of our tax revenue collected already this year. So we're on target of meeting our budget goal, which was 647,000 in income. I don't have the. I have to look through it.
I'm looking at the budget income, and we are $13,796 over what we had projected bringing in as of
For taxes.
for taxes. Our income is already almost $14,000 over what we had projected coming in. If I calculated what we would, what we spend on average in expenses every month, and that came to, based on this financial report of March, per month, that came to $33,745 averaged. So unless we have any major expenses for the month of April, May, or June, and those averages still, maintain themselves over those next 3 months, that leaves us with our budgetary balance surplus of $523,000 left, if I'm understanding that right. Which means we budgeted expenses for $1,030,000. If we continue on the projected, averages of what we've spent every month for the last fiscal year, we would have over 500,000 left in expenses, is my understanding, that we haven't spent. I could be wrong. I'm not super good with math or accounting. But the budget remaining for the end of March was $625,055. And if we only spend on average 33,000 a month, and we have 3 months left, that leaves us with quite a chunk of money rolled over in our budget. That's a significant surplus to me. And I know it may not individually impact people as much as we would like it to, or potentially could, but I don't know. I just feel wrong. It would be against my conscience to not say something that we could give people a break next year, and even just temporarily, because everybody's had a hard time. And I think we all know somebody that has not had a good time this year, last year financially. And I'm trying to think of anything other points that does anybody else have anything to say? And I am totally open to constructive criticism. And if you don't think this is the right idea, I'm one of many members of the board, but I had to mention this, that bothered me. I apologize. But does anybody else have anything to say or bring up?
So I did talk to our accountant about it, about decreasing taxes, and his counsel was to, and it's so frustrating because they make us create a budget before we know what our tax rates are going to be, and before we get our property is assessed, and so I think it's difficult to make a decision to make a budget anyways without that information. It's so frustrating. Mm-hmm. So in the documents that I sent you, on the second page, it talks about impact of the library and then impact of individuals. So if we decrease our real property by 0.1% and our personal property by 0.1%, you could see the impact on the individuals. That over a year's time, you know, for those people who have property assessed at, you know, $300,000, they're going to be paying a couple $100 in library taxes. And I think the difference between our tax rate now and decreasing it by, you know, 1/10 of a cent or a penny, they're going to be saving about $25, $30 a year in their tax bill. So, which is kind of disheartening, right? You know, you want to lower taxes and make a huge difference in somebody's life, lowering it is not going to be a huge impact on our community members. Our accountant says, yes, it can be a good faith effort. You know, like here, we're really trying to keep our tax rates low. But he said, yeah, the impact on the individual is not going to be enough to make a huge difference in their financial situation. By decreasing it by a penny for real property and the personal property, it looks like income would be reduced by about $60,000. So creating a budget with $60,000 less coming in is going to look a little bit like what we budgeted our first budget last year, when we're like, oh gosh, we're going to have a 10-15% cut in revenue. So it's going to take about $60,000 off, I think, estimated. But again, we don't have assessments on property at all. So I think I will do whatever you guys want to do. There's some things in our budget that I would like to do this next year, if possible. You know, one thing that we've never done is we've never worked on we've never gone over the money that has been coming in, unless we paid like our debt reserve off. So there were several years that we did go over the amount that we collected because we were making large payments against the building. So Hannah, if we cut our taxes, you're willing to go into that reserve to pay employees and fund projects and things like that?
Are you talking about our checking account reserve?
Yeah, so we have like about $400,000 in savings accounts we can tap into, and we've got definitely got about 9 to 10 months of reserve in our checking account too.
So you're talking about if you have to tap into a reserve, it would not be the over $1 million in the checking. It would be the emergency fund and renovations account.
Yeah, well, we would tap into probably our checking reserves and if we have to, our savings account. But if you look at the budget that I passed out, that I gave you 4 different budgets. So the first one is this is what we budgeted for the current year. The second one is, the second column is with no raises, but I would really, really like to hire a teen programmer. We're just struggling in that area and my programmers are burnt out. We really could use some extra help, and that would be a part-time teen programmer. And the third column is with raises, which was about 1.5% would be the cost of living allowance raise that Social Security has suggested for the year, and also that hiring that part-time teen programmer. And then the last column, I projected what it would look like if we decreased our budget by 0.01 cents per 100 for personal property and real estate. So I took that $60,000 out of there, but I would still like to hire a teen programmer on the very last page. So really, really cutting back and in areas, trying to stay within, our income, the amount of income that we would be brought in. But it looks like we would chip into that savings or general account, save or checking account by over $30,000. Does that make any sense? Making any, whereas the other two options, if we have that extra $60,000 coming in, I think we can get it a zero. We can just spend the money that's coming in. So
I leave this in the rest of the board's hands. I've made my wishes known. I would like to lower it, and if nothing else, is a good faith effort towards the people of the county. And that's just me. I leave it in the rest of y'all's hands, and we're missing two board members who really are a big part of this that need to help make these decisions. So I'm fine with, them looking it over. I will leave it up to y'all, and I'll vote accordingly. Is the two middle columns, is that based on maintaining the same rate we have right now?
yes. Yep. See, and we don't even know if that's going to be what a compensating rate is. Like, we've had years where we get a compensating rate that is lower than the year before. So, and I want to just say too, that between 2019 and 2020, the assessed property values skyrocketed. And I am projecting that that's going to happen again. So if property values are raising, we should be able to decrease that tax rate anyways. But the problem is they're still going to have to pay the same amount because their property tax or their value is raising. So it's like, even though on paper it looks, oh yeah, we're decreasing your tax rates, not really. You're still going to have to pay the same amount because your value of your property went up.
Is the impact on lowering tax rates for individual, is that based on what you see? Is that based on this budget draft where 2021 is the same tax rate, but we brought in $647,000, and then you're estimating a $30,000 increase in, I'm assuming because you're saying you expect property taxes or property values to raise.
Mhm.
And so that's why it's 677,000 instead of 647. Is that right?
No, actually what I did was I looked at our budget this year,
Mhm.
our financial statement for this last month, and I said, where are we at with money? So part of the problem that we're having excess is I think that we're underestimating how much money we're bringing in for the year. We've always tried to be real conservative with that, and then we end up having extra. So that $677,000 is based on how much revenue we have at this point in the game this year.
So if we maintain the same revenue that we've made this year, we're on track, you would think, to make 677,000 next year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this one where you did the breaking it down by individuals? Is that based on that same property value estimation?
That would took the assessed property values from the tax assessor last year, and I timed that by 0.01, whatever I used that assessed value to determine that.
Okay, so that doesn't take into account what you're expecting with property tax or property values to go up?
No, it does not take into account of current.
I guess my question is, if the property values go up like you're expected to, and we do lower the tax rate, then this number might look bigger than what it actually is.
Yes.
So the difference might make a difference. So even though the property value went up, we lowered tax rates, and it might keep them at the same, but they would have saved money from property value going up.
Right. So
it's six.
Yeah.
They could still pay the same, but they could pay more.
And I want to commend the board too. If you look at the last couple of years, we have taken those lower rates. Last year, we didn't even take the compensating rates, which they were wanting us to raise those rates, and we're like, we brought in this much money. Why? Let's keep it at this. We lowered, I think, the property tax rate and kept the personal property, and that was the one that the rate that they want us to increase. And we're like, we didn't. We took that low. We lowered it. So
A decision doesn't have to be made at all today, right? It's just giving us information to look over before we have to set the tax rates.
Yep.
In the budget in June.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you have to consider, do you want to give staff members raises this year? We raised salaries, wages in, I think, October and November. And those figures are there under the personnel items. So that's there for you to look at. Probably the most significant changes we're going to see in that is, like, if we add that teen programmer, that's going to add quite a bit to our part-time salaries and wages, and that's in section 9. And then I expect that our health insurance costs are going to raise this year. I just don't know how we could get away from not with the pandemic this last year. So I estimated a 10% increase in health insurance. It's too early to get quotes in from our insurance provider. I also, if we would like to, I think it would be a great service. We could add an EAP, which is it basically supports our staff members. It provides counseling for them. I think 8 sessions a year, and their family members. It also would provide drug counseling if we had a staff member who had addiction issues. We could refer that person to this service. They would be able to counsel with 1 visit with a lawyer per year. So if they were having, divorce issues or something like that, they would get that counsel as well. So in that service runs about $2,700 for the year for all of our staff members. It would also provide mediation. So if we had staff members that weren't getting along, we could call on them to mediate for us. And that provides, a way out for the board not to get involved in staff issues, which is kind of helpful. So that's just something I've been researching. It would be a great thing, but if not, that's fine too. I understand if we want to keep costs low. And then the other big thing with payroll or under personnel is going to be retirement. That increased by 3% this year and is going to increase 3% every year after, and I think we've got 5 or 6 more years on that increase. So it could be, if we do with raises, it could increase up to $64,000 this year. This last year, we budgeted $57,000. So. Does anybody have any questions about personnel or salaries and wages?
So none of these do you have a salary worked in for a teen programmer?
Yes, I do.
Which-
I actually included it on all 3 no, I didn't. Let me look real quick.
You're under section 9.
Yep.
Hire teen programmer is in all 3 columns.
But do you have the salary included in there?
It's going to be, so we wouldn't hire this person until January. There isn't really any point to do that. It's going to cost about $10,000 to do a part-time teen programmer from January to June. So
it is included in these numbers. It goes up on part-time back from 47,000 to 60,000, 65,000, 60,000.
It doesn't look to me like it's,
I don't think I did include it in on the first column or the second column that says no raises, because there's a $10,000 difference between 419 and 429. So.
I'm lost on 9A, 9 little a. It's second column, no raises, hire team programmer. It's 60,000. This year's 47,000. Why does it change if there are no raises and you hire a team and then the team programmer isn't included? Then why? I don't understand why it went up.
Yeah, it does look like it, but I'm not sure why it's 419. That might be an Excel. I might have a formula that didn't add there.
Because it, all across those columns, it goes up from 47,000.
I did.
Like we're adding somebody.
Yeah, let me double check the math on the column on there. On the end column, the total personnel, it doesn't look like it included that. And I might needed to go back and refresh that formula. But it's about 10,000. So 10,000 to hire a team programmer for 6 months. So it would be 50,000, about $50,000 there under salaries and wages for part-time. If you didn't want to hire another person. And that goes across the board. You take out 10,000 across the board on that. Is there any more questions on personnel? Okay. With operating expenses, to cut costs, and since we do have such a big reserve, we could reduce the spending in maintenance and repair and our other maintenance and repairs on 10C. And we would just transfer money as needed to fund those items.
Can you remind me again where we would be taking the money for the parking lot and the pavilion and the playground equipment?
I believe that's going to be taken out of
Because I remember that.
should be
ahead.
the last page, I think. It'll either come out of, well, it's going to come out of our general checking, really. And that our general checking is, where did I put that line item?
It's 1,042,000.
Yep. It'll come out of there. But it would count as probably a land improvement. And right now we have that we have it tied up into CDs and savings accounts right now. And right now we have about 372,000. General checking right now is over $1 million.
Yeah, I kind of remember last month me saying something and it was said that we have all this money in reserve that we can use. So I'm not sure I understand. I might be I just may not be understanding this, but I'm not sure that I understand what the big deal is about us bringing in 60,000 less by lowering the taxes, but still be able to hire a programmer and give raises. I feel like we have the reserve to run this operation, and we've gotten all that money from people paying their taxes. So I'm kind of on Hannah's side on, I think we have the money to do it all.
Oh, we do. I think we do. I was just saying that every year, so on the very last page at the end, under 13H, you have total expenditures amount spent above income reserves to tap into those reserves. So that means we will go over the expected amount coming in. We will tap into those reserves. That's not a problem. We could do that. We have the money to do that.
If we look at the what we budgeted this year, we've already gone over 14,000 in our, already gone over in our what we budgeted. And so, but you said this year you didn't, was it in this budget, it's not quite so conservative as we have been because just trying to balance that out.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we might even be able to increase the income. We still haven't received the money from the state. We usually get about $40,000 from the state for motor vehicle. So we haven't received that yet. So that our tax income might be able to be increased, and we might be able to balance that and not even use reserves.
I'm all with I know it's not an option on here on the budget so far, but I agree with Michelle. I think we can give cost of living raises, hire a programmer, and lower it by 1% and do a great experiment and see where we are. Because you said we don't know the property values yet, and if a trend is going to continue the way it has, it's going to go up or at least maintain it at the least. It seems like, and I mean, and if we go over into the reserves, and we learn, we adjust accordingly the next fiscal year. I'm with Michelle. I don't see why we can't have a fourth column here where we do all three. And
I agree with that.
we want to take care of our staff. And if a teen programmer is needed, then we need to meet that need. But I still think we can do a good faith lowering of the tax rate at the same time and do all three. And we'll see where we are at the end of next fiscal year. We never, like you said, you're playing with some variables that you don't know, and that's not fair to you, but or us as a board that has to make these decisions. But we've done really good every single year. Our checking account looks amazing. Our reserves look amazing, and doing this playground thing, I think we can do it all and still be budgetarily okay.
And I think I agree with what you're saying. And if it appears we come up with a shortage, you get most of this COVID behind us and the library opens up more and more and there's more traffic here and the playground gets completed, the general public is going to see that we're making an attempt to spend their money in a fashion that's going to benefit the public. And if we get in a position a year or two down the road where the mill levy has to go up, then there probably won't be as much squawking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dissension from the county
Okay.
officials.
I mean, we don't want to cut, we're not going to cut salaries, and we want to give everybody a raise, and we want you to have the staff you get or that you need. But it sure would look good for the county to come out doing better with the library and having more services and the place for the kids to go, the playground, and it, like she's saying, a good faith effort that we're doing our best to, because I have a family member that looks at it and is like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much of my property tax goes to the library. I don't even use it. Well, that's not my fault. And I feel like that a lot of the people wouldn't mind paying that when they see that we're trying to offer all these great experiences for birth to old. I mean, we have yoga for the elderly if they want to, participate. We have a lot of programs that are for all ages. And I think that for the most part, the county appreciates that. And as long as we're not bankrupting us.
No, and I don't think so. I just want to make sure that your guys are okay in dipping into reserves. And it's been talked in directors meetings too, that this is the time to do projects and make sure that you're not hoarding money, and which I don't think that has ever been our aim, is to hoard money or it's just
it's been really good budgeting is what it has been. You've been conservative in your budget, and that's paid off, and like you said, now's the time to pay that back.
And I agree. Right now is not a great time to build, right? Because construction costs are very expensive. But the way I look at it is, you know what? It's going to be maybe 2 years down the road before we can put a playground in if we wait for costs to come down. I think we can help stimulate our economy if we dump some money into some projects and do a few things this year. So if you get any criticism for that, well, why are you building a pavilion where costs are so high? Well, I think that we can say that we have the money we've been saving for projects like these, and we want to help our economy too.
And we're keeping the money in the county. I mean, we're using a lot of local, whoever we can, when we can. We're always going local.
Yeah, I really try to make sure that we're reaching out to our local businesses. So I do want to talk about hotspots. I do want to fund 10 next year. We still have money coming in for 5 that we've already been given. So we'd have to fund the 5 that weren't. And estimated phone costs and hotspot costs would be $15,000 across the board. I just think that we started that program. I think we need to see it through at least another year or two and evaluate it.
Are you seeing good usage of it? People are really checking them out and using them. Good.
Yeah, I need to talk to the school again to see what their plans are for next year. I don't think that they're doing virtual, but they may have a few students with health issues that may require hotspots. So we'll check in with them and make that available. I would at least like to. And then, yes, our career, we have a couple, our laptops aren't checking out so great. I think we need to advertise that a little bit more, but our hotspots are. There's a huge demand for that. So Keith and Michelle, what are your feelings on the hotspots with keeping 10 next year?
I think we need to offer as many as we can, as long as they're being checked out and used, then I'm good with it.
Okay. Well, as many as we can. I mean, we could probably fund as many as we did last year too, but it's a chunk of change. We had 30,000 budgeted for hotspots and phone expenses last year. It's expensive.
Well, I mean, everybody's back in school for the most part, but if you use those 10 for the people that, are needing.
Yeah. I mean, we can always adjust that if we see a high demand for them, but I really want to make sure that we keep those requirements in place where they have to be in school or job related
Jobs, yeah.
I think that we'll see an increase in our insurance in 10F. That will be increased. I don't know how much because I can't get a quote until we choose a playground and send that off to our insurance company, but I budgeted $3,000 more for that. And then, there's some slight changes with our materials budgets with books and videos and databases. And if you guys are okay, we'll just keep going into our reserves. I cut the budget for the reserve. If we lower taxes, I cut almost every budget in those for materials just to try to not go over and have to use reserves. But if you guys are okay with using reserves, we can increase those numbers and keep them, provide the same services next year. I do think that we spent a lot of money on databases this last year. I want to continue to fund that at least one more year, like Hoopla and Overdrive. And
You
see.
statistics on that?
What's that?
You get statistics on that? Like you can see how many are checked out? Oh, that's right. It's at the end of our report, isn't it?
I don't know that I have, Hoopla. I don't know can't remember if I do Overdrive or not, but I can provide those statistics next meeting.
No, that's okay. I was just making sure that there was some way of tracking, we're paying all this money, making sure they're getting used. As long as there is.
Yeah, Hoopla is getting used a lot, and it's an expensive service because we're paying per use. Overdrive is still being used quite a bit. It's just ebooks are expensive. Some ebooks are as much as $80 per book. So it's, yes,
I'll go buy it.
I know. That's why we're part of the consortium though, so we can share.
Uh-huh.
And then we purchase special books for people with, there's high hold numbers on them for people who request items. So, and then not very many changes with programming. We would like to fund the Imagination Library this year, Dolly Parton's book giveaway program for kids ages birth to 5 years. An estimated cost if we serve 100 kids, books range from $2.25 to $4 a month and that the books will mailed to their house. If we could commit to 100 kids at $4 a month, that would be roughly $5,000. There is talk that the state might fund some of these projects for next year. I haven't heard any updates, but I would like to get it started. And I think if we can get it growing, we might be able to find other businesses that can help with this project and help fund it. I think that we have a literacy issue in Trimble County, and we can target target groups, special families that need extra help and assistance with reading and literacy. Definitely work with OVEC in their preschool program. So, is there any thoughts on that? The Imagination Library project? It's under 10K, line 10K.
Sounds great.
Okay.
I'd suggest to Mr. Pollock that the county could supply some of this money if they wouldn't buy $65,000 trucks for their emergency management employee. He could do that job in a 1979 Ford F-150 pickup.
So I know other libraries, they work with their schools. I don't know if the school would be willing to help with, if we do get more than 100 kids involved with a program. But LG&E is very generous. There's other businesses in the community that we could maybe reach out to. So possibly write an OVUC grant for it, and not use them for programming grants. So there's options there. Not too many changes with administration. Talk to staff about tuition needs for next year, and we'll roughly need about $6,000. I do want to take a human resource management class in the fall, and that's about $1,600. I'll talk more about that later and get approval from you guys. The 11F column, the reserve for transfer, that's an estimate of what will be in our account by June 30th. So that is our emergency fund and our general account amount. So yeah, we have a chunk of change there. So quite a bit there to allocate this next year. 12B is our CDs and one savings account. For furniture, I'd like to at least fund about $3,000. There were some display cases that we want to buy. We went through our equipment list to see what we need to replace, and we've got quite a few computers that are 5 to 6 years old, and we would need about $16,000 just in replacement costs on computers. That doesn't include any other extras that any equipment that we'd have to buy, but that's, again, we have funds that we could transfer out of other line items to that if we needed more money in that area. So it sounds like for next meeting, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of some of these columns with, I will definitely work in raises and lower taxes. And present that better information for you guys for next month. So I try to make sure my math is correct too. So. Do you have any questions?
I appreciate you working so hard on this, Dina.
Yes, budgets are a nightmare.
Well, especially when there's so many variables, it's like,
And
You
no one, you're making a budget based on almost less than no information of what the next year is going to be like. That's hard.
I don't know why they do it the way they do. It would be so much easier if they would change. But we'll probably end up amending the budget anyway. You know. So.
That's not a problem.
So.
Job security.
What it is. But I'm really excited about the project, the pavilion and the playground and everything, and really excited to see that get done. And so.
Did they say, did Gosman say they were very behind? Because I thought they always were pretty booked. Did they act like we could get that this summer?
You know, I didn't ask them on that. But you know what? If we have to push it back to a couple months, I'm okay with that. The excavation work is going to take a while. They're booked too, and the playground is going to take. It's not like we're going to order it and get the playground in 2 weeks either. You know,
Right.
Everything is on hold, and you know, if it's fall before we get a playground in, I'm okay with that. We'll just take our time and do what we can. So.
I would think Gossman could work this pavilion in between other jobs unless they just specifically have crews that are building garages, because it's a, you know, if the gravel's down, it's a matter of throwing up forms and setting posts and pouring concrete in one day and putting the building up the next day or day and a half.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
a short
sides or
job.
anything.
Short job.
Yeah, so I will go ahead and contact all those for quotes and get them started on work that will, at least the excavators. And maybe if we contact Gosman now, they'll be ready by the time excavation work is done. So, is there any questions? Or I really appreciate all that you guys do, and for our community and also for our staff. It's been a pleasure working with you this year, even though it's been really hard. So I appreciate all the policies you put in place and considering our staff and their needs and also our community needs. So it scares me a little bit about reducing tax rates, but you know, that's I support you guys in your decision, and we'll figure it out, you know. So
What's life without a little risk?
oh, is that it? Yeah.
I think real estate values are going to continue to rise in the county for some time to come. There's a lot of real estate for sale, and it looks to me like a lot of it's getting sold. Every time acreage gets sold that was assessed for whatever the value was years and years ago, it gets reassessed. So I think it's just going to increase. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I definitely, well, and I think we do need to adjust our rates to reflect that too. And so, but all right, I don't have anything else. Don't know if you guys want to discuss anything or.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'm sorry.